All right, everybody, we have got a special one today. I've got Cam Bawden from Green Mango, and let me just make sure I get all of it. Green Mango, which you're probably most known for, the 1% Club, which is an online coaching community for all home service business owners. I'm actually in it as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then the host of the Premium Mindset podcast. I've been following Cam for a long time, so we're going to go over the basics of kind of how we got here, but I have to ask you before we start. You've had recently, this last year, you exited for all of your 5 home service businesses combined, but one of them's the one that is kind of more branded and known for. Yeah. What did you exit for? All cumulative and total. What was the final exit that you did?
Well, I still have Coconut, but I mean, what I can say legally is that I've built and sold 5 service companies for over 9 figures.
Okay.
And so, Green Mango is definitely the biggest one by far. And some companies have been like ultra successful, and some of them have been like just kind of like fire sales. Like the pool company, investor pulled out, and we were one of the biggest pool companies in town, but I didn't know what I know now. And it was just like fire sale 3. We had 3,000 accounts, and that's a huge, like that's big for pool service. Yeah. I was talking to a guy this morning, and he's one of the biggest, and he's like at 1,000. I was like, dude, like it was crazy. Like we were running 3,000 pools, and we built that in like, I think it was 12 or 18 months. But again, pulled out, and we just literally fire sold it to Pool Man. And so like, I consider that a failure because it was just like break even. So like, yeah, we've been through it, man. We can get through it.
Okay. So with that, I've seen you on the podcast tour quite a bit, seen you on YouTube, everything else. Are you sick of talking about the exit at this point?
No, it's fun, man. Like my whole goal now is to inspire other people. I always tell people like the things that made me who I am is just being disciplined and staying consistent, like period. And so if I can do it, then so can everyone else. And so my whole goal in life now with my social media and what I'm doing in the 1% Club is just to inspire and help people believe that it's possible.
Yeah. And getting proximity to guys that have done it before is like probably the most valuable thing of joining groups like that.
Yeah.
It's just like having proximity to guys that are like, I was joking offline. It was like, I ran into one of the other pretty well known, I'm not going to name drop on here, but like ran into one of the other pretty well known home service guys who exited. And I was talking to my buddy after, and I was like, these guys talk about the same things we do. They just speak in 8, 9, and this guy speaks in 10 figures.
Yeah.
And I speak in 6, 7 still.
Yeah.
And like, that's the difference. And I was like, but they're doing the same thing. They're just so much further along. And I was talking about like just the proximity to people that talk like that. I was with him and a few of his buddies, and it just like opened my eyes to just like scale and what's possible just by being with them. They didn't give me a blueprint. They didn't give me like a bunch of coaching or anything, just by being around that. And I think that's like the most important thing about the 1% Club outside of just getting a bunch of sauce.
Well, that's one thing to remember as a leader that you can never forget is that we as human beings, we do what we believe. And so your job as the CEO to your employees, your coworkers, is to help them believe. And your job as, who you are to your group is to help them believe that they can become a 6, 7, 8 figure, 9 figure, person, or 10 figure. And that's why I love the Roger Bannister 4-minute mile story. It's like once that was finally broken, everyone started to break it within, I think it was a month. Like, multiple people broke it, and there's just so much power around that. And so, yeah, if you're around people that are up to great things, you can see there's nothing special about this guy. Like he just figured out these little tricks, which is why I'm so huge on, mentorships and coaches. It was one of the greatest things that I did in my life back in 2017. I spent the money that I really didn't have. Like, I sacrificed a lot to hire that coach, and he literally like changed the trajectory of my life because one of the biggest things he helped me believe in myself.
Okay. Let's start there. Do you mention him publicly, like who the coach was?
Yeah, Mark Fournier.
Okay, Mark Fournier. So you reached out to him in 2017, if you want to say your age. How old were you when this happened?
So 2017, you're going to make me do some. I was 32?
Okay.
Yeah.
And this guy had a background in home services or something, I'd imagine.
No, just a success and life balance coach.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's cool about him, the story goes, like I met him when I was a little boy. He's one of my dad's really good friends. And so he watched me grow up. But I called my dad one day, and at this point, I was probably making like maybe $200,000 or $300,000 a year, and I was probably 27 actually. So like, yeah. So 2017, 7 years in, 28, 29. I was making like 300 grand. And I felt like, hey, like things are starting to go well, but something's still missing. I'll never forget. I was in my Peralta house. I was in the closet and I called my dad. I was like, hey, something's missing in my life. And he's like, it's time for you to coach with Mark. And, I'm like, what the heck? I remembered Mark, but I said, why? He said, well, he'll help you understand human psychology. He'll help you understand yourself. He'll help you understand and become a dynamic leader. And I was like, all right. So I went and met with Mark, and from day one, I mean, the price tag was, over $100,000 for him. And it was just like, at this point, like, okay, I don't really have, I have it, but I don't, it's going to take some sacrifice. And that's what I mean. No matter where you're at, it's okay to sacrifice that couple $100, couple $1,000, $10,000 to get a coach that can help, really believe in yourself. Like I had a lot of self-doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually tweeted this a couple days ago and it got a lot of controversy. As I said, when I talked to you when you came on the group call with us, I talked to Evan, your partner in coconut cleaning. And then I talked to Dave Carroll from Dope Marketing, all in a week's period. Yeah. Right. Do you know Dave?
No.
Oh, okay. He owns a marketing company in Minnesota. They're killing it.
Cool.
So they're all you guys are all in the same world in terms of scale of your businesses for the most part. And I tweeted the one common trend I've seen with all of these guys, even when you see even Tommy Mello and these guys talk, is all the guys that have had these exits or have built these wagons that guys like me are aspiring to, they all talk about two things. Every single one of them. They talk about finding A players and keeping A players, and they talk about coaching and mentorship. Yeah. Every single one of them. And it's a common trend. And what's interesting in my generation, I just turned 30. So what am I, Gen Z? What am I? Is it Gen Z? Is that Gen Z? I don't know. So. Whatever. So I just turned 30. And there's post-COVID, everything else, there's this stigma around coaching and courses. And it's it's the stigma of the Amazon FBA scams during all of 2020 and 2024, where you would park 200 grand with some guy and you lose it all. And so coaching and courses has this really negative connotation. And then I've turned around and said I've probably bought 6 or 7 high ticket coaching or course products in the last 5-6 years. Everything from how I learned Facebook ads was from a course. How I learned how to build the back end funnel to grow Home Service Accelerator was a coaching program about how to build an online info business. Yeah. And all of those things. And it's interesting because the only people I see on social media and the internet that are shitting on coaching and courses are not successful ever. Yeah. But if you read the comments or whatever else, sometimes people shy away from oh, I don't want to invest in that. It's that's a sucker thing. But you're another person who's saying that the one coaching investment changed the entire trajectory of your life.
Yeah, it did for me. I know it's not for everyone, but it did for me at my point in life, and it was a game changer.
Yeah, and so speaking on that, because now you're in the coaching and consulting world a little bit, I wanted to know, so you 1% Club, as we're filming now, has, what is it, right about close to 100 people?
No, it's 70.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you get a ton of proximity to home service business owners of every trade.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that you've had your hands in all of these different businesses, what is we'll start here. What do you think the most common blind spot you see in business owners that come in to the program is?
That they have?
Yeah. Where you're you see a trend where it's man, I keep talking to these guys and they keep saying the same thing.
Yeah. I'm a huge person on being intentional. So knowing where you want to go. A lot of people don't really everyone wants a huge company, but no one really what's big to you? Is that 10,000 accounts? Is that 5,000? Is that 1,000? In pools, 3,000's a lot, 2,000's a lot, 1,000's a lot. In pest control, that's nothing. And so you need to understand no one has vision of where they really want to go and then how to get there. And so what I see is people just putting out fires every single day, and they don't have the systems and the processes to put into place. And I probably hear that a lot because that's what my bread and butter is. And so I'm sure I attract those types of people because I'm really good at creating the vision of where we want to go, but how we get there in really, really detailed. I wish Cody was here. He's getting some content. We're redoing the helicopter, and we're going to do a cool series about the painting and the maintenance and all that stuff around it. But, Cody's been with me for only 2 or 3 weeks now. And he's dude, my job description is so detailed that I literally have to read it almost every single day just to make sure I'm not missing anything. But I love that because there's no error in what I'm looking for or what I want. And that's what you need in a company, or else people are confused and they don't know if they're doing a good job. And going back to that belief is that if they don't know like what it looks like to be successful, then how do they know they're doing a good job? And how do you as the owner know that they're doing a good job? Because that's where all relationships, and whether it's like with your spouse or friend or whoever, like everything's lost in, miscommunication. And that's where I see a lot of errors with businesses.
Yeah, I've seen Hormozy talk about like the phrase like just define it, go deeper.
Yeah, he's really good at just making it simple.
Yeah, like go another layer. And so like, do you think a lot, like especially for newer business owners that are, like a lot of the guys listening and myself included, like I just hit my first like 7-figure year ever.
Oh, man,
like it's all top line, it's decent margins, but everybody says the top line to posture, which we laughed about off camera. But like, so in that context, what's really interesting is like, I talk about like even 3-4 years ago, I used to say like, oh, I want to be a billionaire when I was like 24, 23. Mm-hmm. And then as I've kind of grown as I guess a man and like become a little bit more in tune with like what I really want and need. And as I started going like, define it. Why do you want to be a billionaire? And then it really became like, I actually don't want to be a billionaire. I don't need like I wanted, so then it became like, okay, I want comfort. I don't want to worry about bills. I don't want to worry about like family members getting hurt, anything like that, or family members getting sick and not being able to provide. And what's an interesting exercise, like you start to realize pretty quickly, like most dudes live like their entire lives, like saying like, I want to do a certain thing and haven't even like remotely reverse engineered what that looks like in execution.
Yeah.
Do you see that when you're consulting too, when you're like diving into it?
Oh yeah. So what's cool is, probably like 4 years ago, I sat with a successful guy and he was asking me the same questions. And I didn't know, like I was one of those people that were like, I don't know. I want 100 million. I want, I don't know, he's like, I want you to go and I want you to make a list of like, you have an open bank account, like unlimited funds. What are you buying? Is it like a house in the mountains, a house in California? Is it like a couple of different sand cars or Lambos, the Rolls, the big house? Like name everything. Okay. Whatever you want. I want you to go through and look up how much it is. So that's one column. And then look up the yearly like insurance and spend on it, the maintenance, all that stuff. And that'll put your number, right? And what's crazy is like, as I did that list, it's not as much as you think. Like it's definitely not $1 billion.
Right.
Right. and then it was like, and so he didn't recommend this, but I was like, okay, like that's my like, limitless life. I'm going to go do that. Like, what do I really need? I don't need I don't need a Lambo I don't need like a Ferrari and a Lambo and this. It's like, what could be like, like obtainable. And I went and made that list and did the same exercise. And then for me, I like reverse engineered it. And what was so crazy, and I shared this on the 1% Club, is that when I got my offer from Green Mango, it was like it was within $1 million of that number.
Damn.
And that's crazy.
That's crazy. That's insane.
And so like, that's what I talk about being intentional with, okay, like my, like intentional, disciplined, consistent. Those are the 3 things.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. And so bringing it into the 1% Club, when you're telling them that story, I'd imagine like within the 1% Club, you have proximity also to like the businesses that are doing, let's say like $1 to $10 million a year, like somewhere in that range. But you see the businesses like on the trajectory, you're like, they're about to blow up.
Yeah.
What do you see is like, what are they doing? What is the owner's temperament, or what are they doing in the business where you're like, that dude has it figured out. Like, I know what the result's going to be in 5 years.
They're just applying the things that we're teaching. Like, that's it. It's like literally that simple.
So give us like 1 or 2 examples of like the things you teach. Like when you go in there, you're like, dude, just keep doing this. Give me like 1 or 2.
Well, the 1% Club, like it's still not, there's nothing as great as one-on-one coaching, like
right.
Period. Right. But it's also not scalable for us. And so, today I love the ice baths and I love the saunas. And one of like the things that I like to do is invite people over. And it's just a cool way we go. So like my little like program that I do is we dunk in the ice bath, we get in the sauna, we do like a 10-minute breath work class, and then you do a 2 to 3 minute guided session, and then we get back in the sauna. And at that point, like all the vibes are there, right? And then we just have a good, like, we could talk about business, we could talk about family, we could talk about goals, we could talk about whatever you want. but it was cool. So I invited one of my one-on-one coaching clients over this morning, and you know, I was like, dude, talk to me about coaching. Like, what about the one-on-one? Like, how's it been? Like, what is it? He's like, Cameron, we've literally doubled in size. And I'm like, that, like, really? Like, come on, man. Like, you've doubled in size. Like, you were already a huge company. Like, you've doubled in size. What was it? I'm just applying the things and the follow-up that you give me. And so some of the things that I've focused on with him is going back and creating all these systems and processes within his business to give guidance to his employees. And so we go and create SOPs, standard operating procedures, for every single department. So he's no longer running around putting out the fires. And that's been the biggest difference in the last 3 months is, hey, because we create this system that's so detail oriented of what you're supposed to do, and the training behind it is not perfect, but it's like, it's as great as it'll always improve. But it's like, hey, at least it's here. The training's great. Now that guy has all the tools that he needs to go be successful. He's no longer having to put out fires. He's been able to work on the business the last 3 months and focused on growth, as opposed to just like waking up and just doesn't know his day, has no intention with what's important besides, I'm just going to take care of my guys. And that's where everyone's at under, I would say, even like $20 million of revenue. Everyone's just waking up. Just, my job is to put out fires. It's like, no, your job's not to do that. Your job is to grow the business, create systems and policies that the company can run itself.
So it's like the difference kind of mentally of being reactive or proactive in the day. And which it's interesting. I've seen you talk about on Instagram too. You talk about like you plan your entire week on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Like, it's very convicting to see that, because as somebody who wakes up on Monday and just goes straight to that computer and just like my brain melts until my first meeting, it's the opposite. So like, what is the structure? Give us the sauce on like Sunday night. You look at your calendar, you look at like you have like high impact tasks that you're doing. Like, how are you structuring that?
Yeah. So I want to make sure, like, I hired another, coach who taught me this. Okay. And so like I paid, a lot of money and like friendship and all the things. And one of the greatest things is he taught me how to weekly plan. So this isn't me, and he says like, this isn't me. This is Stephen Covey. Like, everyone's kind of making their own twist. So what I found how he trained me on it is that, hey, first you need to identify what are the most important hats that you wear. Like, what are they, right? For me, it's husband, father, friend, a mentor. I throw in like hobbies. So like golf, pilot, my relationship with God, and my family office, which is not only my personal finances, but like all the other companies that I'm doing. And so those hats are what I've identified as the most important. So that's the first framework of saying, hey, okay, if that's the most important, then that's what I should be focusing on every single week. And I try and make goals, or not try, I make goals around each of those categories to get 1% better that week. And so what that looks like is on Sunday morning, ideally, if I have my ice bath, if I'm at home this summer, I've been traveling a lot, so it hasn't been like that great with the ice baths, but you get your mind right by doing a breath session, a sauna, an ice bath, and then you sit down and you write in your journal about the previous week. For me, I highlight like the most important things that happened, and most, like, I don't cover all the categories, but it's like what stood out to me last week. And I'll go write 2 or 3 paragraphs on each of those things about what they are. So you're reflecting on how was last week, what did I accomplish? What didn't I accomplish, right? And then before I start the weekly planning, I review last week's goals. And so it's just a simple yes or no. Like, my goal was to do, go on 2 walks with my wife and give her a foot rub, right? Like, and it was like, did I do it or not? Not like, yeah, no, like, yeah, no, like we went on a walk, but I didn't. It's like, yeah, yes or no. Did you do it or not? Like, hold yourself accountable. And so I go through all my goals and I just write yes or no. Do I do it or not? And then I have my hats and I go and I look at my week. Okay, what's already scheduled? What's my intention? How can I make a goal to get better in that area? And I just go write simple goals. Some of them have 4 or 5 goals under them, and some other ones have like 1. But what the plan is like, if it's a hat that you've identified as most important, you're at least doing something every single week to get 1% better in that category.
Got it.
And then after that, I put it on the calendar, because if it's not on the calendar, for me, it's not happening. So I go and actually like put it on the calendar. Like last night at 8:30 at night, like my goal was to give my wife a foot rub. Like it goes off. It's like, oh yeah, I gotta give her a foot rub. Like,
oh, so you have it down that granular. So like, wife foot rub is a calendar event in your Google Calendar.
My assistant probably laughs so hard. But you know, it's like, it's on there because it's intentional. And then like after that point, I send that list to my assistant, and just so she knows exactly where my mindset is for the week, how she can help me, how she can support me. And then it's like, we're on. And then in the morning when I wake up, I do the ice bath, I do the sauna, and then I'm writing in my journal. I'm looking at the calendar, what's on today. And I write down like the prayer for the day. I write down things that I'm grateful for, and then my area of focus around those things. And so like, I'm looking at things like 3-4 times a week on each task and each day that I'm doing. It's like, it's very, very intentional.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, being a systems oriented dude at work, you're just taking systems and building it into your personal life.
Yeah.
Like it's basically just SOPs for
Yeah,
your
it's
noggin.
worked.
That's interesting. So I'm going to read you a quote. Speaking of systems, you can tell me if this sounds familiar. Any system and policy put in place has to have someone audit it and make sure it's being done every day.
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
It was from your podcast. It was from your podcast. No, I'm
Like,
sure you
no,
probably.
that's not true. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so we talk about systems and processes, and again, from the frame of which this podcast, this show usually gets done from, is like out of the lens that I'm seeing the world in. So it's like beginner step one level is like, oh, I need systems and operations, right?
Yeah.
Like SOPs. And so you go and you build checklists, and you're like, you know, this is the pre-truck checklist where this is when the boys prep the truck and it's there. And then it's like, this is the sales rep sales checklist, whatever else. And when I was listening to you guys talk about that, I was like, damn, I feel seen right now, because the problem is I made the SOPs, but like there's a lot of things in both businesses that like they're not being monitored daily at all. And then I, as an owner, am like getting pissed, right? Because I'm like, what? Like, I had this conversation in the company call on Tuesday, and by Thursday, the sales reps didn't get me their closure report, like everything. And then I thankfully, like, you know, frontal lobe developed at maybe 29, 30, have a little bit of self-awareness. And I'm like, dude, this is still me. Like whatever reason it's like not happening is like my fault. So I got to figure it out. And then I listen to your guys' show. And the whole point is like, if level 1 is make the SOPs, level 2 is accountability of the SOPs.
Yeah.
So like, when did you implement that in Green Mango, and what was like the immediate impact? Because you were saying somewhat of the same thing. Right. Like Evan laughed with you about like there was one thing, I forget what it was, something about your reps or your techs. And it was like, he was like, Cam, how long have you been telling these techs to do this? And it was like some sales thing or some try block. And you're like, dude, I've been telling them for 7 years.
Yeah, it's bad. Look, if you don't have an auditor in place, you might as well not even have your systems in place, because they're like little kids. And I mean that with all due respect. Like we try and get away with what we know we can get away with, period. And so that was the best advice that Tommy's given me yet. I love Tommy. He's a huge mentor of mine. And like, I'll never forget the day that we were sitting in his office, and I was like, dude, you have over 30 locations. Like, you're running this multi-billion-dollar business. How do you get your people to do what you want them to do? And he's like, I audit. If there's a system and a policy in place, it is audited, period. And that just holds people accountable. And that was like that was the missing piece for me. And so that's like an auditor's one of the first things I would do in a business if I started. I have like my little 1% club, my family office now. My assistant audits everyone on anything that I put into place, period.
The 1% club members?
No, I wish it was that granular. Like stuff on my personal stuff. Like, hey, if I implement this, you know, like whatever it might be, she goes in and audits it. Like even the most granular thing.
Okay, so let's get tactical. Let's like get like really applicable. So let's say we're looking at a sales department, and you're like, all right, on every single sales call, to make sure that the communication from sales, and let's just say it's a Christmas light business, hypothetically speaking, you have a sales department, and the issue that you created SOPs were for, like the reason you created the original SOP for this department was salespeople were selling one thing. By the time the installers got out there was something lost in translation. You get the other one. You get a different result. Customer's mad. Customer feels like they were miscommunicated with. Operations staff is mad at the sales guy, all that jazz. So you go into a sales department and you go, okay, guys, here's your new checklist. Like for us, it's in company cam. It's like, you do not get commission on this sale if you don't fill out this SOP. Do you then, you take like either your assistant, some sort of maybe back end position. You say, your new job is, I have an alarm set for you at 8 a.m. 9 a.m. whenever you start, your first thing you do is check these, audit that these were done every day. Is it that granular?
Pretty depends on the volume that you're doing. And so
Mhm.
like at Green Mango, or in your case, you're making a lot of cells. And so it's almost impossible to go and check every single cell. And so we'd say, hey, once a day, your job is to check 20 cells. And she randomly pulls the phone calls, or she randomly pulls these reports to make sure that everyone filled out that checklist. And if they're not doing it, like she's going to find it. And so, yeah, if you're smaller and you have someone full time, like she might have time to check every single one. And if that's the case, then yeah, do it. But there's scaling issues. And at some point, like, it doesn't make sense to have someone going through every single one, because if a rep has a good track record of doing this, like you don't need to go check his other 40 cells. If
Right.
he did it on the first 20, he's probably done it on the last 40.
Yeah, and then the other side too is like a lot of the time in both businesses, like sales, I've found that like sales masks a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
So like until things get really bad, then you start looking at taking a deep dive, and it's been like 4 weeks of like getting to the point where you're like, why are sales down? And then that's too late. And so the idea of auditing it up front is like you catch it before it becomes a problem that you see in the bank account.
Yeah, and that's where the weekly KPIs, key performance indicators, come into place of what you're measuring. And so, and like those are all the things that we talk about in business that, again, like I really didn't have until the last 4 years of Green Mango. Like we had some KPIs here and there, but we got like really intentional the last 3 or 4 years and pretty much increased the EBITDA margins by 10 to 12%. And that's massive when you're doing the volume that we were. And it was just by getting intentional about what we're tracking. If you're not tracking it, you're not measuring it. And again, to your point, like we would get to the end of a quarter or at the beginning, like end of the year, and be like, okay, like let's look at what we did. Like that's no time to be reviewing things and making changes. So like we're making changes every single day now with the reports that we have at Coconut.
Interesting. Okay. And like a little bit like high level, like people management within this, do you feel like creating a more stringent like SOP where the employees perceive that it's being tracked kind of like creates natural guardrails for them to fall in line more? It's like you do it so that the business operates correctly, but then you bring in a new employee where they've maybe worked for some other company in the past, whatever. They come into your ecosystem, they're like, damn, like this stuff's being monitored. Like I better be on my P's and Q's because it's perceived that it's being tracked properly.
Yeah, I mean, I always talk about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Like it was the Bill Belichick and Tom Brady way. If you came to the Patriots, you're not going to go be a slacker.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they created that standard. And again, I don't know of an employee that starts a company and is like, I'm gonna be a piece of crap here. I'm gonna be the bottom guy. Like no one wants to be that guy. And so our job is to help train those people to help them meet their potential. And part of that is by being this like that crazy or that, detailed, it tells them like where we want them to be. And then going back to the belief is like, once they hit it, they know like, where's the finish line at? And that's the problem with a lot of companies is that they don't show the finish line for their employees. And so they're just like constantly running. Like imagine if I was like, hey, let's go run. And I didn't tell you like where, like when we were going to stop, but we just kept
We're
going.
doing 2 miles
and I didn't let you stop. You're like, dude, can't, like, I'm done, bro. It's like, no, we got 10 more miles. It's like, all right, maybe I could make 10, And so that's what I love about like creating a system and a policy and like a finish line is like, hey, this is your job. You hit these benchmarks. In my eyes, you are successful. Like you are my guy. And that gives them an obtainable like benchmark for them to hit.
Mm-hmm. And then you guys have talked about this a lot at length. Then you tie in a more aggressive performance pay model to those KPIs.
Yeah.
And that's where you like maximize the value per employee or the output per employee.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're always going to have a ceiling with like management and levels, but I would try your best to not have a ceiling on their earning potential. So the more revenue they bring in, like keep paying them more and keep them motivated.
Yeah. And you talked about like, I think performance pay is something that like, even on social media, I just see is a really common thing that people are like desperately trying to implement. There's companies that come in and that's all they do, which is news to me. They come in and they help you create like performance pay scales, like whatever else. On one of your guys' episodes, you talked about like a few years back, well before you were getting ready to part ways. You had a consultant come in and you said that you told Evan, like, I was embarrassed to show him our pay scale at like the current time.
Yeah.
What was wrong with it then? And what did you change where it was like, then you figured it out?
Just your typical, like, you're starting out, you make $17 an hour. You hit a year mark, you make 18. You go to 2, like 9. It's just like, very little incentives to grow, to do upsells, to do all the little things that a business needs to capitalize on with their customer base. Like those customers are going out and getting rodent stations or termite bait stations or weed control somewhere. Like it might as well be us. Why don't we educate them and upsell them to our product? They already know we're the best for, the general pest control around the home. And we were missing that mark. And a large portion of that was because like we didn't have a good pay structure in place to, like, if a technician's servicing the house, if he only makes another couple bucks for upselling to like weeds, like he's not going to spend the extra time doing it. He doesn't care. It's $5-10. So you got to motivate him in a way that like everyone's winning.
Yeah. And it's like, it's almost like the beginner level version of this is the company comes out and they give an employee $5 per 5-star review.
Yeah.
And then you realize like that doesn't really scale. It doesn't make sense. And especially as the business gets bigger, you also just naturally are going to get more review volume anyway. And so then parting ways with that didn't really make sense. And then it's like the intermediate level is like you give them commission. And then it's like the expert level is you give them maybe a bit less on the hourly rate bottom line, but just like a potential to perform so well that they make a lot more money for their family.
Well, the other thing that was embarrassing for us is that like it was so complicated that like I could barely understand it. And what was funny is like the person that was doing our payroll could barely understand it. And if she's in charge of payroll and like I'm confused and the tech's confused, like everyone's confused and we're probably paying wrong and all these different things. And so like the more simple you can make business, which is why Alex Hormozy has accomplished what he has, like he just makes things so simple. Pay scales, business ideas, business principles, SOPs, like all the things. That's when you have success in the business. Like when the wife, and Tommy says it best, like when the wife can call the husband at 2:00 and say, hey, have you hit $3,000 today? She knows exactly what it means for him when he hits $3,000, right? She's motivating him. She's pushing him. She knows that makes, what Tommy calls Pinnacle Club, like all those little things they have in place. Our wives, if I don't understand it, our wife definitely doesn't understand, the technician's wife doesn't understand it.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I think the simplicity thing's like a conversation we could go on for like 2 hours about that and like every different possible stage of the business. The thing, and it was funny, it's a Hormozy thing. Like that was where I kind of came to it too, is I watched him deliver previously such complicated like MBA level concepts in business to like me at 24 could like completely wrap my head around it. And so I was watching him do that and anyone with a brain knows that like at some point if someone's making content online, they're selling something, whether it's like, an audience or whatever it is. Like no one's doing it out of the kindness of their heart. Now, some people do. It doesn't mean it can't be both, but regardless. So one of the things we implemented is, and it's a little bit different than pest control, so I'm gonna have you bear with me a little bit. But like when we would give out quotes to people, there'd be, you had Zay back out. I saw you get your Christmas stuff. Someone does Christmas stuff on your guys' house. So I see the wreaths and all that jazz. We can talk about that offline. But we would give out quotes and we would incentivize the closers, the sales guys, the designers, whatever you want to call them, to like, give a fast action discount, let them grab a spot on the calendar while you're there. In return, we'll give them $100 off, whatever else. And we would get a few that way. But what we would notice is we would send these estimates and it would be just like text on a screen and like, there's no photos, there's no whatever. And I started looking at our process and I was like, okay, hold on. If they don't close in person, then what's happening is, if you talk to the wife in person, she's then going and becoming your sales rep to the husband. Or if you talk to the husband in person, he's going and becoming a sales rep to the wife. And, we can pretend it doesn't happen, but, they probably got another competitor or two in there if they didn't close on the spot.
Right.
And so one of the things we changed was I was like, this is the new concept. And we did this 2 years ago and our sales exploded. Our average ticket went way up. I was like, you are going to itemize every single thing like it's an Amazon shopping cart.
Oh, cool.
You're going to zero out everything. You're going to put a photo. And you are going to, when you're making these quotes, you're going to take your quote before you send it to the customer and you're going to give it to your girlfriend. So I was telling my sales guys, give it to your girlfriend and have her explain to you what's being quoted.
They love that.
Right. And in the beginning, it was like the best way to do the exercise.
Yeah.
Because, we realized like our close rate went up by like 10, 11% year over year just off of doing that. And our average ticket went up like 20 something percent. Because what we realized is like, you just became, the second you left, like your process was so complicated, like that you were expecting the wife or the husband to just somehow become a sales rep for Valley Christmas Lights and explain the value to this while we're 30 to 40% more expensive than everybody else and expect it to close.
Yeah.
And it just didn't. And so that lesson has kind of gone into like everything else in business too. Like the phrase we use a lot is like if an alien came to Earth and you had to explain to this alien who had never seen business or anything, like, can you wrap your head around this concept we're trying to accomplish? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's interesting at even the highest level, like that opens up like my blinders to me on like, we're just implementing some performance pay. And I'm like, it's probably too complicated already.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you try and like protect yourself in every angle and it's just, you're just hurting yourself. Like, yeah, you got to protect yourself, but find a way for it to just be simple. And some areas you might lose on, and some areas they might lose on. But the goal is like you're just trying to find a simple pay scale.
Yeah, and it's like you might lose with one guy, but the mean of it is going to work for the business long term.
Well, I mean, like we would be like, okay, we want to pay 17% per house. Well, what happens when they go to a huge commercial job? You know, it's like, okay, let's pay 12% on huge commercials if it's over 400, and then we'd make like 400 to 600, they get 16%, 500 to 1,000, they make 18%, and then like we have this huge. It's like, no, dude, just like take the averages and say, hey, look, on average, you're going to spend 10% of your time on commercials that are over that, so you'll make more on that. But sometimes you also spray these little like 1,000, 2,000 square foot homes. You're in and out in 20, 30 minutes. Like we're going to kill it on that, and you're going to make a little bit less. Like. So at the end, you're winning.
Yeah. And then it's like, it's kind of like the more complicated you have the pay scale, just knowing how much you guys value culture, is it a fair guess to say like when it was complicated, you would err on the side of overpaying?
And then we always lost on that.
Right. Cause it's like, oh, it's a toss up. Just give it we're a good culture. Just give it to the rep. And it like doesn't seem that, it doesn't seem that big of a deal until you look at the P&L.
Well, and people wouldn't know, like have a decent idea of what they're making. So how are they supposed to budget their income off of it? And that was a huge problem for a long time. Like, how much do you make? I don't know. Like, how do you not know how much you make? Because it literally swings so much.
No, it makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. And then if they don't know what they're making, they're not going to be incentivized to perform. Yeah. Speaking of culture, do you agree with the quote, hire slow, fire fast? Or are you a hire fast, fire fast? What's your model?
Oh, I've probably gone and like, I've probably been everywhere.
Yeah, same.
My thing is that if you have the right procedures in place and you've created the right training curriculum, give them a chance. You should know this. And this is the exercise and it's just a brainstorm session, like sitting down and like, as entrepreneurs, we have so much going on in our head that like when we think about something, it gets like 10%, focus for a little bit. And then it's just kind of here or there. Where it's like, dude, let me focus with you for a minute on this topic. Where do you really want this guy to be in 3 months from now? Cool, that's the first milestone. Where do you want him to be in 6 months from now? Okay, great, that's the second milestone. How do we get him from point A to point B? If you were hiring your son today, what podcast would you want him to listen to? What books would you want him to read? Who in the organization would you want him to meet with, right? I was doing this exercise with Evan the other day. I'm like, what makes a top producer? And one of the things that we identified is the top producers in our sales training, they sit on the front right table. So I said, so our requirement now, if you're hired under 6 months, is when you come to a sales training, you sit at the front right table. Whether it's the front left or front right, I don't know, but we chose front right because that's where all the high guys meet. So it's like for some, like who are the low guys? The back corner. So like we're going to the guys and saying, hey, why are you sitting in the back? I don't know. It's like, well, you have the lowest job average. Like get your butt to the front. Like there's some correlation here that when you sit in the front, your job average increases. So why don't you come sit at the front? And so you're identifying all the little small things that get you to where you want them to be. And that's what's missing with entrepreneurs that I see the most. And that's where it goes back to like, there's nothing special about us, right? But we are the best in our organization. Why? What did we go through? Mm-hmm. We went through all the little things, and then we had a strong why of like why we're doing it, so that we paid attention to detail. If you can find that why with every single employee, they're going to become as good or better than you in that department.
Yeah,
so that's the goal.
Yeah, and it's still like, it's funny, completely different subject, but it goes back to like when you were talking to Evan about like getting top performers, it's define it. So it's like I want a top performing tech.
We all
Okay.
do. Yeah.
What does that mean? It means that he does this amount of revenue. Okay, cool. What is that average job size? Okay, cool. What does that mean? Like, where does he sit in the, and you can go like essentially 20, 30 layers deep to the point where by the time you get to the bottom, you've got probably a checklist of 15 things that's crystal clear of exactly what they want. Temperament, emotion, team player, like all of that stuff.
Yeah. So to go back to your question, like, do I hire fast? It's like, yeah, I like to hire fast, but I also like to give them a recipe for success. And then if I see that they didn't hit milestone 1, which is 3 months in, I'm like, hey, sorry, bro. Like I gave you everything. I know it's literally an effort.
Yeah. Where did you become confident enough in the system that like, cause the worst entrepreneur blames, the employee for everything.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like, oh, he's such an idiot. The guy was such a dick. Right. And it's like a very low IQ, EQ way to act. At what point did the systems become so rigid and consistent where you're like, okay, this is crystal clear. Like if they can't hit this, then we know they have to go. And it's like, I don't care if they're a sweet guy.
Yeah.
I don't care if where's like, what was that? Did you have a moment or you just like, you had enough data come in that you're like, okay, this is pretty crystal clear?
Yeah. I mean, obviously like it wasn't perfect. Nothing ever is. Right. But I feel like we got really good like the last 2 years because I started to see like how powerful it is and was.
And do you know when you have a new employee, like the first week whether they're going to hit it or not, or you get surprised?
I mean, I'm wrong a lot. Like it's hard. Like everyone interviews well, right? And so, yeah, I feel like everyone should know within the first week.
You get a pretty good gut feeling on somebody. Yeah. We've seen the same. And unfortunately, you can, like the temptation sometimes as an owner is you become a little bit of a cynic. Like,
well, what's cool too is like you can point that out to people, and that's where we encourage the one-on-ones every single week with direct reports underneath you. And so, like if it's a weekend and you're sitting down and you're just saying, "Look, man, like I'm just being honest with you. Like you interviewed this way. I got really excited this past week. I haven't seen you. Like we have everything in place for you. Talk to me. Like what's going on? Oh, this happened, that happened, or I don't understand." Like it's open communication, but most company owners aren't even doing one-on-ones with their direct reports.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that guy didn't start saying, "I'm going to be the biggest piece of crap in this organization." Like he wants to be a good guy.
Yeah.
And so like, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and you have to have that open communication. If again, going back to your son, if he came and worked for you, would you not be talking to him every single day or every single week about how like things are going? Because you want him to succeed?
Yeah.
I would hope so. So why aren't we doing that with our new hires?
Yeah, kind of like I don't remember who I stole it from, but it was like when I was making the positions and like the comp structure for sales and, when we started getting employees, the big thing for me was like, if I was in their position, would I think this is a good gig?
Yeah.
And like just that exercise. Because like at one point you're looking at your numbers, you're like, this is what the business would need. And then the other side, you're like, well, that doesn't matter if no one takes the job or the only people taking the job are low level performers.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. I think the son thing is like probably really relevant for dads.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or daughters or dogs.
Yeah. With my husky. If we hired Petey, what would we do? Okay. So that's I'm going to change gears because I have another quote and you can tell me who it was. Marketing and sales. How important, let's start here. How important is speed to lead at the organization of any size? Speed to inbound lead.
Yeah, I mean, the stats of, drops off your closing percentage by 80% if it's not contacted within the first 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So after that, I have a quote for you.
Uh-huh.
We were spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on ads, sometimes more, and we're calling people once.
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
Multiple years.
Does that sound familiar?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Do you want to tell everybody who that was?
That was me.
Okay. Got it.
You're just trying to roast me, man. No, I'm just kidding.
No, if it didn't come out of your own mouth, I wouldn't bring it up. Okay. So speed to lead has become like the hot topic, right? In home services specifically. I don't know if it's because there's a lot more content made about home services. Maybe I just have more proximity online. Speed to lead is like the main thing. Like when we implemented that with the system we were talking about, just made sense. Yep. Shout out to Snipey Lead. But then it's follow-up. What sort of structure and system did you have to make sure follow-up was there? And then when did you guys decide like something was dead?
Yeah, so I got really crazy. because I started to see all the millions of dollars that we were putting into these leads. And then if you have a great CRM to track it, you're seeing that guys just don't they just don't care, period. Your salesmen don't care about the leads. They just want to get their 10 to 15 accounts a day and be done. Right. And so we had a very, I call it crazy because it kind of is. It's like, it's a double call, right? Lead comes in, you try and you call them once, no one answers the first one, you double call right back. They don't answer. It's call, text, email, selfie video. And sometimes they'd fight me on the selfie video, but the times like that they did do it, it was successful. And that's where it just adds that personal touch. It's a real life. Everyone's aware of AI and all these things that are just automated. Like they want to feel that you are a person. And so like when you do a selfie video in the office, hey, it's Cam, I'm here till like 6 o'clock. I want you to know, like, I want to get you taken care of. Call me, let me know what time's good for you. I'm here for you. You know, I'll hook you up on whatever promo you have going on. Like that's just one more like added little touch point that you can do for them. And so we would run that to where, and I would have them do it every 2 hours. So here's what got crazy too, is like I went and I analyzed, okay, if I had, how long does it take to call, text, email, send a selfie video? Or if I wouldn't send a selfie video 3 times a day, but like send it once. How long does that take? I think if I remember, it's like a minute 40. And so I was like, I'll give the guys 2 minutes to do this, right? How many leads can they like, what is their bandwidth? We understand technician bandwidth. I was giving salesmen too many leads to follow my cadence that I wanted. And so I forget the exact numbers right now, but whatever it was like, hey, you can only handle 60 leads at once because I'm just throwing this number out there. Let's say it's 30 an hour. You can only handle 30 leads an hour because by the third hour, I want you doing the same thing on those people. And so it came out to a formula of like, hey, we'll close 2 to 3 sales an hour. Each cell's 7 minutes long. So that leaves you about 40 minutes to do all your call, text, email, follow up with everyone. And so we would give a lead to a salesman and they would work it that way for 5 days. Or no, it was like 3 or 4 days. We tested it out. And I think we ended on 3, but originally it started at 5. It was like after 3 days, if they haven't responded 3 times a day to call, text, email, like they're not worth our time. We've exhausted that. And not just like, if you call someone at 8 o'clock every single day, like they're probably at work. Call them at noon, call them at 3, call them at 1. Like you got to test it on different times too, right? And so after 3, I think it was 3 days, it was like, okay, like put it into the different funnel, and then they just get automated dripped and on a campaign that hopefully they come back at some point.
Yeah. So like once you put them through you put the lead through 3 days of hell, and then you put them into like,
everyone's so like worried about, offending that lead. And it's like, bro, they don't give a crap about you anyways, like be respectful about it, but like call them.
Dude, I said it on the call the other day because we were setting up a bunch of people on Snipey Lead, and I was talking to them about like, we hit people with 5 text messages and a voicemail if they don't respond. Like they are getting 5 straight gray over a 3-day period.
Yeah.
So
that's rookie league.
And
I'm just kidding.
What'd you say?
I said that's rookie league. I'm just kidding.
It was something. Well, it's initial text.
I'm just playing. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's initial text. They get an auto call. So like the sales rep's phone rings, says you have a new lead. Press 2 to get connected. Connects to the customer. Customer doesn't answer. Get a voicemail drop, and then the text nurture of like 3 to 4 things goes over 3-4 days. And I got pushback from these guys in the group, and they were saying like, "Oh, it feels annoying." And I said, "They're already not your customer. Yeah. They can't not be your customer twice. They're not going to not be your customer. They're already, it's a 0 in the balance sheet right now, 0." And it's like that kind of frame of like, I think it's just like, and I had a little bit of it early. Like I talked to a dude at a conference a month and a half ago, and I presented, it was a Christmas light conference. I presented on like, with Christmas lights, speed to lead is everything. I guess like probably in any industry, it's probably number 1 because you're seasonal, you got to squeeze it in. And the guy came up to me after and he was like, dude, I was waiting 2-3 hours to call leads because I didn't want them to perceive me as desperate.
It's crazy.
And so that's how like some people think. But then, we have guys like you who've built wagons saying like, dude, speed and follow-ups, everything. It doesn't matter if you get an unsubscribe by 2% or 0.5%. Evan said yesterday, Coconut's SMS unsubscribe rate is point something percent. Yeah, it's like basically non-existent on the platform that is the highest unsubscribe rate, which is SMS.
So going back to like knowing your business and the right SOP is you can be annoying if you leave it up to your salesman to find the right if he comes up with his own text message of how to follow up 3 times that day. But if it's calculated and creative from you as the owner, like the first one's like, hey, I'm your guy. I'm real. I want to take care of you. Like it's nice. The second one, hey, I got this huge promotion. I'm here till 3:00. The third one, hey, I really want to get you taken care of here to like tell me what time works for you. Like that's a good progression. And even the fourth one of just like another one. If he was just like, hey, it's Cameron with Green Mango. I want to get you on the route today. Second call, hey, it's Cameron with Green Mango. I want to get you on. Like that's annoying, right? These people want your service. It's your job to find a convenient time for them to connect with you. And that's why, like, I appreciate if it's done in the right delivery method that someone calls me or texts me or finds a way. I love if someone tried to call me and then text me and said, dude, what time works for you today? I know my calendar. I know that I'm going to have 15 minutes between 2 and 2:30. Like, dude, call me at 2:15. I'm your guy. I submitted for this. I want it. You're appeasing my schedule now. Cool. I'll call you at 2:15.
Done.
But that's your job as the salesman to figure out, like, because think about it. I mean, we don't have to go. We can if we want to go down this. But it's
this is good. Keep going.
Like, put yourself in the mindset of the consumer. Like, all the things that had to happen for them to submit that lead, right? They heard you on the radio. They got the Google ad. They got whatever. And they're like, fine, I'm going to call them for Christmas lights, right? Then they have to search you on, they have to remember the website. They have to search you, right? They have to hopefully find it. And then hopefully your form's easy to find, but it's like they scroll through your website, like put in their information. They don't have a fillable text like Amazon because you don't have their information, right? So like Cameron Bawden for it, it starts putting out the number, submit. And then like that's an effort to get there. And then what happens? They put their phone down, they start driving to work, or they take the call from their kid, or they, like a million things happen. And it's like, dang, I really want those Christmas lights. But it's like, I don't know when I have time. You're a mom, you're busy, you're running, you're doing this, you're doing that. And so like your job is to somehow coordinate with that customer and make it easy. That's why we started online booking too. Because for a while it's like, we want the touch point. We want the credit card. We want like all the old school ways of doing it. And I'm still preaching to my team, like we need to figure out how to fully automate the process. So it's as easy as ordering on Amazon to book an appointment with us. And so like, we're really close right now.
Yeah. Like the frictionless buying experience. It's like the thing. Yo, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, the thing that radicalized me on that was like somewhere in the 2020s, maybe 2019 and 2020, Home Depot's like sales system got so intricate and unique that like, you go into Home Depot and you're like, you can tell that they probably invested, if I had to guess, high 8, low 9 figures into this system to overhaul their entire business. And it's an entire business based on it's the entire system based on making a frictionless buying experience for the customer. And so, for example, if you go to Home Depot and you put a towel rack in your cart, whether you do it in person or you do it online, you put a towel rack in your cart and it's a stainless steel towel rack. They are then going to have on the screen, here's the matching soap dispenser, here's the matching this, here's the matching that. Or if you purchase just one, you'll get an email nurture from Home Depot after that's like, hey, congrats on buying the stainless steel towel rack. Here's the 18 different things that match that set. And then on top of that, when they save your email on everything, it's like they made it so easy for me to do returns. Like everything, you don't even have to have receipts. You just like bring the product in, they have it on because you all tied your email, all this other stuff. And it was like, if the companies that are already worth billions and billions and billions of dollars are investing into a frictionless buying experience where it's instant book, it's this, it's curbside, whatever. Yeah. Why do we think that in home services it's going to somehow be different and people don't want to buy that way?
Yeah.
And then the other side is if you sell a high ticket home service, so a couple $1,000 average ticket to more, your best customers are going to be convenience buyers.
Yeah.
The people who have all the time in the day to get 9 quotes are going to be a nightmare.
Right.
And so it's like the thing that I'm going to steal the talk track you said was like, not just like, hey, follow up available, but like, hey, what time specifically today works for you to chat? Like that's a really interesting one too. Did you guys ever do any of like the text nurtures where you would, where like, let's say the lead was somewhere in the pipe and you say like, hey, we're going to have a tech in your area on Tuesday, the 11th at, 12:30.
Maybe, I don't know. So, if it wasn't on my radar, but I could see how that could be effective.
So we had, I have a mobile dog groomer come and like mobile dog groom the dogs you just met, Petey and Stella. And I did them once and they were like, they tried to get me on the quarterly, the monthly, like everybody does. And I just don't get them groomed that much. And then like 3-4 months later, anytime I get marketed to and it converts me, I like as a consumer, I go like, why did that work on me?
Yeah.
And one thing they did was they personalized a text probably 3-4 months after I had dealt with them. hadn't heard from them, maybe some email nurtures. They personalized a text that said, "Hey Steve, PD and Stella haven't gotten, cleaned in a while. We have a technician, or we have a whatever they call it. We have a technician, Clarissa. She's actually going to be right by you on Thursday, May 11th between 12 and 2.
Yeah.
Do you want to grab a spot?"
Yeah.
And it was like, it didn't feel salesy because it felt almost like it was reciprocated levels of value between the company and the consumer, because they're like, "We're so busy, but we got a slot. Do you want to take it?"
Yeah.
And the irony is it's completely automated. That time slot didn't exist. They just wanted me to convert, which is so funny because like then when I
thought they were going to give you like an 8-hour window.
Yeah,
like, we'll make it work.
Yeah, no. So I said like, "Yeah, I'll take that spot." I responded in 2 minutes, and then they responded like, "Oh, actually, like that spot, but we actually have a 3 to 4 that day." And so it was completely automated. But the point was, they were so like that leveled the playing field in terms of nurture, where like it just felt like, okay, busy company, they know where I live. It was personalized, whatever else, which was fascinating.
Still.
But it was something where it was like just incredibly convenience based, where it worked on me. And then everybody I was talking to in Home Service Accelerator was like, "You guys should do this. Any window cleaner, any whatever, you should just do, whatever, and then tie like an offer to the end. Like, we're already going to be in the area. We'll give you, 10% off, whatever else."
Yeah.
Something like that. And people were like, "Oh, but what if the person takes the slot?" And I'm like, "It doesn't matter. Just get the conversation going."
Yeah.
Was that kind of your guys' mindset with the outreach too? It's like, it's not about being perfect. It's about not being annoying and just get something back from them.
Yeah. I mean, you're just trying to engage that conversation and start it.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, cool. Okay. I'm going to change gears, and then we're going to wrap it up, because I think we're getting close to an hour here. All right. So let's do an exercise. And this is multiple people asked me to do this. So let's do an exercise. Everything is taken away from you right now, but your brain.
But my what?
But your brain.
My brain.
So you have all of the knowledge you have right now, but let's say you have $10,000 in the bank account, and you have one vehicle.
Like no relationships?
No relationships. No relationships. So let's even plop you like in a different state, and you don't have your phone. So you have 10 grand, you have the brain you have now, and you have a vehicle. Mm-hmm. What home service do you start?
I mean, you can start a pest control company for 10 grand. I'd probably do that because I know it the best.
Okay.
But like there's a lot of like, trash can cleanings becoming popular, and I think there's something around that. I mean, those would probably be like the two, like I don't know why trash is on my mind, but like I think there's something special about like the ease of it and the low overhead, and then like the value add that could happen with like the actual cleaning of trash cans. But I mean, it's just something. And then so I'd answer that pest control.
Okay, so you do pest control and trash can cleaning. Mm-hmm. So you love the recurring revenue businesses. Mm-hmm. You have zero interest in getting into HVAC. You have zero interest in getting into anything like higher ticket like that. Obviously, from an equity standpoint, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But like you as an operator, zero interest in that. You just know pests so well.
Yeah, I mean, I know pests so well, but yeah, reoccurring revenue brings you so much peace of mind as you're growing your business and selling it. But just as you're hiring too, as you're growing it, knowing that, hey, like we sold $1 million last year, like we have $1 million coming in, we can hire the extra CSR router without like stressing every single month that we have to go and produce $500,000 of new sales.
Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha. And then the other follow-up question is, you have the same exact scenario, but you have $25,000 in a working vehicle in a market, but you can't door knock. Where do you allocate the money in marketing?
I love influencer marketing, but it's not even like the 50 to 100,000, 20,000 people like following. Like moms that have 5,000 followers, like they have a huge influence in that demographic. And so I'd get together, whatever business it was, I would find like a common area of like expertise. And so like we're doing it right now with Coconut. My buddy owns the Pecan Lakes, and we're going to throw on an event there. And I went to him and said, hey, and this is what I would do is like, hey, what's your acquisition cost? Is it $150? Is it 100? Whatever it is, let me promote that to my customers or to my people and get them here as a value add from my company. And you'll create them as a customer, and then we'll have an event, and then we'll give out promotions, get information, and then start dripping them that way.
Interesting. Okay.
And then have my little influencers, in the background doing their thing. But like be intentional with the influencers. Hey, like this is what we're running this month or this quarter. This is the promos that I want you to have. This is the talking points that I want you to speak on, all the little things.
Interesting. That's wild. Influencer marketing with the budget. That's so you wouldn't throw money in Facebook ads. You wouldn't throw money in Google ads.
I'm just not like an expert in that. Like, believe it or not, we only started running Google ads like the last 2 years of Green Mango.
And for the listeners paying attention, because this is something that comes up with like recurring revenue businesses versus high ticket ones. Mm-hmm. Did you just calculate it off of like the LTV of the customer that came in when you were running?
Like why I didn't do Google ads?
Yeah.
Because I wish I did. We were having so much success in other areas that I just like
champagne.
And I wasn't good. Like I didn't have the right guy. I wasn't good at it. And so we just didn't do it.
Interesting. Okay. That's wild. And do you remember what like the figures were around pay-per-click at that time?
No.
Like were you penciling at like 3-4x or anything like that? Know. Or at that point, were you so ready to exit? You were just like as many people as possible, get them in the door. Cause we know the enterprise value of if we do.
I actually didn't know. It wasn't intentional. I was going to run Green Mango for another 3 or 4 years, but the offer came. And so I had a business partner in Green Mango that we started with, and I bought him out like almost 2 years prior to this offer. And so the goal is to run it 5 years after I bought him out. And like I started getting intentional with all the things that we've been talking about today. And I boosted the EBITDA margins another 10%. And then private equity came. And at this point I was talking to all these guys for 2 years prior. And so like the name was kind of out there, like we had entertained an offer. And when Pesco came, like I just gave them my terms of what I wanted and they said yes. And so I was like, okay. So if I knew that I was going to sell, I would have done things a lot different, like leading up to the sell. And I probably could have made another $5 to $10 million bucks. But I just I was running it as if I was running it. Yeah.
Cause for the longest time, you just thought you were going to hand it off like generationally, right?
Yeah. At the beginning. But during COVID, when I started hearing like, oh man, these companies are going for like 18, 19, 20 times, like, everything's for sale.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Okay, cool. So where can they find you? It's Cam Bowden on Instagram.
Yeah, C Bawden on Instagram.
C Bawden on Instagram. Yeah. They can go on podcasts and find the Premium Mindset podcast. And then I will link the 1% Club landing page in here. Is there anything else you want to share, plug before we go?
That's it, man. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, dude. Thanks for coming on. Yeah. It's going to be super helpful for everybody.